Suzie, here we go.
Hi.
That fantastic accent.
I'm really quite nervous.
I know, but he said, "Oh, I don't like talking," and then proceeded to talk for the next half hour.
Not without a few pints of Guinness involved.
That fantastic accent. That's Northumberland, isn't it? But it's not. It's not Newcastle, is it? It's
No, Northumbria has a big chunk of land that everybody forgets about between Geordieland and Scotland.
So you're up in the top bit, are you? Up near Berwick.
Yes, 20 miles from Berwick.
Okay, that's right.
I'm very much a Scot, really, in the days of William Wallace.
Yeah, absolutely, you're nearly Scottish.
I did
up in Berwick.
vote for independence when it was happening. Like, come on! I lived there at the time. Like, free education and loads of morphine.
But was that basically the blueprint? That was.
Well, they do. You get free degrees, and it's a good name for a band. You get free degrees in Scotland.
Would be a good name for a band, that, wouldn't it? I wonder if anyone thought of that. So you brought up there, and you went to school up there. So what was your sort of first introduction to music then, when brought up in the?
Dinner. Northumberland's pretty bad. Sorry, Northumberland, if you're watching. Well, there was no live music to be seen. If there was any, it was folk or rock cover bands locally. It just wasn't there. But thankfully, and my dad was a real country and western fan, okay. And my mum was a bit of the Kinks. But unfortunately, sorry, Mum, she moved swiftly on to Daniel O'Donnell. And we all went to see him as a family trips to see Daniel every year.
Was that your first gig, Daniel O'Donnell?
No, MC Hammer was. That I remember.
I'm not sure that's any better. As MC Hammer, Daniel O'Donnell.
No, it gets better. It gets better. Snap was there as well, and I've seen all these people doing breakdancing in the ice rink.
Where was that?
It was in Whitley Bay.
In Whitley Bay.
It was great. And Wet, Wet, Wet we seen there as well.
Wet, Wet, Wet in Whitley Bay.
Yeah, so but my auntie was an Elvis fan. That's how this came about, really. Right. I blame my auntie Frida. Yeah,
was the first thing that really got you going.
I wanted all the big puffy skirts and rock and roll. Her and I used to sit and watch the movies together and that.
Fab. Were you a musical kid? Did you study music?
No. Nah, I was enormous. I was kind of bullied at school a bit, and stood at the back of the crowd and used to sing in my bedroom when there was nobody listening or nobody home, and sing at the top of my voice. I think that was Patsy Cline usually, and then moved into the divas, singing Aretha and Mariah and all those that were in vogue at the time, and not when anyone was in the house, no one knew. And then one day I got up and sang. It was a Whitney Houston song, actually, at a karaoke in a pub when I was in uniform. Alnwick. You could do that there. And in Alnwick, my local town, and everybody liked us after that. I didn't get so much jive.
You stopped being bullied when you sang karaoke.
Whitney Houston, the greatest love of all. It's all about it.
So did you never...
Sorry, it'd be so disappointing. It was supposed to be like, no, I grew up loving the blues or rock and roll. It just didn't happen.
No, it kind of makes it... If you'd had sort of musical parents...
I'm so easily influenced. I hang out with some people and they listen to heavy metal, I'm off like painting myself white with chains hanging off my legs, or... That did happen, and then if someone else likes this who I hang around with, I start listening to that, and then blah 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 blah, and that's how I end up writing the music that I write. The end.
Bit of a chameleon, really, just kind of absorb little bits of everything.
It's great because I just know loads of songs where I go into any scene.
I suppose it is an advantage if you're prepared to absorb anything and you don't have a kind of thinking, oh no, I don't like that genre of music. You're not kind of prejudging what you're listening to a bit.
Yeah, totally. I don't like pop, of course. I don't. But I did for a little while as a teenager because that's all that anybody ever listened to. So
it's a blurred line, though, isn't it? I mean, Whitney's pop in some ways. I mean, it was
totally.
But okay. So when was the first time you, apart from doing a bit of karaoke, how did you take being able to belt out a couple of Whitney tunes at karaoke into deciding to be a singer? And
It was my karaoke man's fault, John Bailey. He, my karaoke man said, "How do you fancy doing this one day without the screen?" And I was like, "Okay." And so I did, because I didn't used to look anyway. I was like doing Puppet on a String, like all the different kind of actions every week. Every Friday I would go to the same karaoke and I'd go in. And I didn't even have to write a song. He was putting them on for us anyway. And yeah, you don't need to look at the screen now. I was performing anyway.
So it kind of came from just being karaoke to just
but I didn't do that till I was 28.
To a backing track.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was only yesterday or the day before it came up on my Facebook memories, which is everyone's diary these days, where it was the first time I'd stood on a stage without a screen, and I looked horrific. And I remember my dad, I could only place, this is really bad, I could only place times in my life around either songs that I've written or songs that I've sung or whatever. And that point in time, my dad had been really sick of cancer, and I was singing "Stand by Your Dad" instead of "Your Man," and everyone was crying and all that. It was really funny. But yeah, we're doing loads of country and Helen Shapiro and that sort of stuff.
And so when did you start? You were still living in the northwest at this point.
Northeast.
Northeast, sorry, in this point. Not northwest. That's me, isn't it? So you're still living at how did you kind of turn that into singing, kind of professionally, into starting thinking of making a career of it rather than just?
I never have thought of it as that ever. I just can't stop it. But it was after I'd come off the karaoke and done those couple of things, and it was with terrible backing tracks, like Sunfly backing tracks. Anyway, so a band asked us to sing with them, and that was the first time I'd been in a band as a rock cover band that you would find in the Trader. I was singing like Tina Turner and Alanis Morissette and that. And we got this contract to do Alnwick Castle Christmas parties, and people were arriving at a really grand medieval castle, with a library where there's books from floor to ceiling and all these walls, and it's just so grand and beautiful. And this rock band arrived, and I don't like to swear, but all my teachers came for the staff night out, and they're wearing full ball gowns, big tartan, massive tulle dresses, and now you're thinking of me when you fuck her in my wet leather look leggings and high heels. It was really bad, but we got really busy. When I was with that band, it was my guitarist Dale Robinson at the time, the easy influence lady that I am, said, "Have you ever heard this?" And he gave us an album, and it was Rufus Thomas, "Walking the Dog." That was it. My life has changed ever since then. I blame everything on him.
Was that the thing that got you into the soul blues?
I went home and I listened to it, and I was like, "What the hell's that?" And we'd been singing kind of blues, but it was like rock blues with the band, some of it, Gary Moore and all that. Everybody thinks that's the blues these days. And then, but with that and the Elvis thing, and it was like this connection or something, I went home and I was like, "What is this? What is this?" It was really funky, soul-y stuff, but when I tried singing it, my voice just done something nuts, and I knew that I just followed it ever since. Pretty soon after, I got divorced and went to New Orleans for 3 months. That's what happened, and I've been just chasing it ever since. Constant.
And was that? I mean, obviously maybe a little bit of reaction to getting divorced, but was that a conscious decision to go to New Orleans to explore the music and to get into that?
Absolutely,
that kind of music?
Absolutely. It was going to be a musical journey. I was to start in New Orleans, then go to Memphis and Nashville. Then I wanted to go to Chicago and Detroit and all these and Austin, and I forgot about Chicago, and Detroit, and Austin because I just fell in love with New Orleans and ended up staying there forever. I've been back a million times since, but I did do a week in Memphis and go to Elvis's. That was the main aim, of course. But,
so how long did you end up staying in New Orleans for that?
3 months only. So that's all they allow without a visa. And but I've been back 6 times since.
Okay. And do you sing when you're out there? Do you
Yeah, I've got to know people while I've been out there now. But I haven't done full gigs, but I sit in with people.
Cool.
It's cool. But yeah, and then I just got more and more and more stuck into it, and it's great because I get really jealous. So I've always got. Sorry, Ian can't see. I always got really jealous of people, like you mentioned, kids who've grown up in a musical family. Really jealous of kids who grew up in Hastings and have had this kind of music scene all around them their entire lives. And you can choose which one you like the best. I mean, we didn't have really any to choose from at all in Northumberland. But I get really jealous that I'm not a master of one. I'm just a little bit of all sorts of things. But it's great because I get to find something new out every day. It's like Christmas and I hear a new record that's been out for 80 years. I love it. And it keeps getting older and older and older.
It seems to me what you're doing is you're singing what you want to sing. So you're going to sing it with a bit of passion. You're not just singing what you think other people want you to sing.
Well, that's very true. But I know Craig in the audience there read my dissertation, what I wrote for uni last year. And I think that my life, I'm passionate about it because I feel like I'm like the people who wrote the music. Like, I can only skirt around that a little bit because my dissertation and what I did at uni is a whole different interview, really. But basically, my dissertation was around women in the blues pre-1960. Okay. And about blues being a construct and social constructs and different things. But basically, those women, and I'm not saying that I were raped and abused for hundreds of years as slaves, and then all of a sudden they were liberated and just full of FCUK, and they were singing about it and shouting about it and shagging whoever they wanted any night of the week, full of whiskey, instead of being trapped at home, having to work the same as the man and make babies for the slave owners, blah, blah, blah. And this last 10 years or 12 years I've been alive, I should say, I've got an extra couple of years since I started in a band at 30, I just feel completely liberated. And I've chosen where I wanted to live. I don't have friends I don't like. I don't stay in a job I don't like. I don't do anything I don't like. And I've not had a man for a few years. I wonder why. Not to live with anyway.
We won't be going into that. Don't go into that.
Don't go into that. But I just feel really liberated in myself. I found I became strong in myself, and it allows us to be passionate about what I sing and what I write. And I won't sing a song unless I feel like I can sing it like I wrote it.
You can own it a bit.
Yeah.
You sound to me a bit, and I can kind of relate to it a bit because I'm a bit the same about my roots. You sound as if you're kind of quite proud of being from the northeast, but
absolutely.
Kind of a little bit kind of resentful and a bit sarky about it at the same time. People diss the northeast for being a bit behind or not having any culture, but they've got their own. Those people are so proud and really down to earth and will wrap anybody in their arms, and it doesn't happen so much in the south. I'm sorry. So they're just a different people, you know. And all right, I only had to move a few miles down the road to Newcastle, and there's a lot more music. Yeah, but it's just because I was like in the middle of the fields, you know. Yeah. You've got to walk. I wasn't in the middle of the fields, but I was Bolton had zero music scene in the 70s when I was young. But you had to go to Manchester. It was quite a city oriented thing, I think.
It's £15 for a taxi for 4 miles to go and see a non-existent band. Like. It's mental. No, it's absolutely bizarre. But you can go and see John Bailey on Friday night in a fleece and sing karaoke. So that's what the music is.
How old were you when you left the North East?
30, yeah.
And where did you go then? When you came back from New Orleans?
When I left my marriage, I had a few months sharing a house with this girl, and she said, "Mind, Susan, I'll not be in very much. I'm a bit wild. Do you remember, Bryony, if you're watching?" I was mental. I went nuts. Can you imagine if anybody's ever left a marriage? I was mental. And I seen this Irish skateboarder for a few months. Oh no, not skateboarder, breakdancer. And then I went to two different things entirely. But I went to New Orleans and I couldn't live at home again after that. I just couldn't.
Catch up with that. He breakdanced on a skateboard.
Wouldn't that be good, wouldn't it?
That'd be cool.
It could go like that and hang in a straight line off a lamppost. It was good. Aye, but when I went to America, I was like, Susan, you've got to go single. All right. So off he sent us off, and I never came back. I couldn't live at home again, so I came back and stayed on someone's sofa and worked in Newcastle for a while, and then I ended up moving to Scotland with someone I'd met at a blues festival, and I lived up there for 4 years.
Whereabouts?
In round the bonny banks of Loch Lomond.
Okay.
I stayed in a few places around there in Alexandria. I stayed in the Renton. They reckon even the dogs go round in pairs there, and the dogs, I mean, and then I moved to Clydebank. Then after a year in Logs, I promised myself I would never do another winter in Scotland, but I lasted 4 years, freezing, and it rained every single day. I'm not kidding you. It rained every day, and I was totally depressed. I just sang a song to my mat yesterday. What I wrote in the first house that I lived in. I was like, why am I so blue? And about it raining every day, and I didn't think I could stay there. I really didn't. But I learned that you just have to have really good waterproofs and climb a mountain and everything's fine.
Sounds like a conversation with my sister. She lives in the Lake District at the moment. Every time I ring her up, it's still raining, Nick. It's the same thing.
Yeah, but she just has to get some waterproofs and climb a mountain and everything's fine.
So all the time you're kind of moving around a bit. You've gone and worked in Newcastle for a bit, and are you singing all this time? Are you still performing?
I had a little band in Scotland. We were called the Midnight Specials because I'm a total John Fogerty fan as well. Oh, I love him. I'm a mad fan. I got to see him last year in the O2. Went on my own. Thought nobody else is going to pay £129 for a ticket next to the stage, so I'm going on my own. I went mental. I paid so much money for my ticket. I was sat with all these boring farts who wouldn't stand up.
Pity you hadn't met us then. We'd have probably paid £129 quid.
Mental. Like, sit down. The security man coming to tell us off. Like, it's all right, I'll stand in the aisle. You're not allowed to stand in the aisle. Oh, I was going berserk. It was great. So, yeah, I had a little band, and then things ended there as they do, you know. Another failed relationship. And I headed back home and stayed a couple of months with my sister in my little village. And it was great, Sarah.
Did you still go and do the karaoke?
Yeah, we did. She'll tell you if she was live and speaking live, she would be telling us that we went to a karaoke when I moved home for a few months. It was really great fun living with her. And I moved to North Shields because I was into rockabilly a bit then. And there was a few rocking bands. So I moved to North Shields, and she followed us and moved to South Shields, by which point I'd met this piano player and we'd come and done a couple of gigs down in Hastings, and I left her. So my sister followed me to Shields, and then I just up left her. And never mind, it was a good decision to make to move here. Was
that when you moved here?
Aye.
Never look back.
Nah, I was supposed to be a hobo, man, and I got stuck. I just got addicted. This is the most New Orleanian place I've ever been.
Okay.
Apart from New Orleans.
That's an interesting comparison. So how long ago was that then?
6 years in December. I'm like over the 5-year mark. I'm heading on the 10 years.
Almost becoming a Hastonian yourself.
Almost. I'm like, I'm not a newbie anymore.
So going back to the music, when did you start getting the urge to write songs and do your own thing and compose?
I kind of always have. I was just having a conversation with Matt about this last night. I've been pretty useless because of us picking up and putting down all the time for 12 years. I've lost loads of things. You know, people have their school artwork and school lists and clothes from that age and whatever, and they keep it for years and years and years, and I don't have anything. I mean, I came down here with a hold all on the megabus and that, you know, and I don't have anything, but I've got my songs. I remember different points in my last 15 years anyway by the songs. It's my diary, but a lot of them never come to fruition, but I can still sing them. I've got them in my head, or I've just got lyrics for them even. It's like more like a poem book, probably. But yeah, I've got books and books.
I'm guessing from saying you never studied and things, you don't particularly read music or...
Nah, no, when I write, I just come out with a melody straight away and like sing it into my phone and say, do something to that, like wrap some chords around there. Then I'm like, no, not like that.
So that's his...
Think the I-cats.
So that's Matt, that's his job, is it? You got the band
yeah, I had another one before Matt.
You singing into your phone and playing it.
I've had another couple before Matt, but me and Matt work really well together like that, don't we? No, not like that. Ding, ding, ding. He starts playing the way my hips move.
So you kind of feel your way through it rather than come up with a whole composition or anything. You just come up with
Well, no, I've generally got the whole thing, but most of the time, because of the music I'm influenced by or what I listen to, whether it is John Fogerty or Metallica or AC/DC or Memphis Mini or the I-Cats, they've all got the same 3 chords and bars generally. You know, it's all rock and roll.
Rock and roll, yeah.
Fast or slow. So
what was the first proper formal gig that you remember playing with a backing band rather than a backing track?
Well, they were called Full Bottle. I wanted it to be called Full Throttle, but it sounds like an F. Full Throttle. Was my cheesy rock band.
That was the cheesy rock band.
Aye, it was great. Honestly, sorry guys if you're watching, but it was like playing with 4 bus drivers, and
were they 4 bus drivers?
Well, actually, one was a taxi driver, one had a paint shop, one was ex-RAF. What is the other one? And there was 2 main singers, me and Sean. Me and Sean were dead young at the front, and like used to burn our voices out constantly. It was funny. But,
so none of them were actually bus drivers?
No, but taxi driver.
That's all right. That's happening.
And in a paint shop.
No, that's not a bus driver, Suzie.
Oh,
that's a paint shop.
I know, but you know, he's still like tradesman.
Blue collar.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that.
It's really great. I loved it. I was addicted straight away. Bang.
So when you went to New Orleans, you started picking up on all this kind of soul music and early blues artists and rock and roll things. When was the first time you started performing that kind of music yourself? How did you make that work for you?
So we slipped a few of those Rufus Thomas. Oh, aye, that's what happened. Sorry, me and Dale snuck away. I'm just looking at the camera there because if any of them's watching, it was a really sticky time. We when I was with this Full Bottle rock band, we were playing, and he had said to me, "Have you heard this before?" Now go home and listen to Rufus Thomas and sing it at home. And we go and perform these things at open mic nights. In a little bar like this, actually, it's called the Tanners in Annick. It's got a tree that grows through the middle of the pub. It's very the same, very much like it. And so we were going to do open mics and kind of just like, I want to do this instead. So we're doing Sheryl Crow, the more country bluesy type stuff from her, Rufus Thomas. I can't remember what else we did with them, but it was edging onto that sort of thing, you know. And we're doing a few like Eric Clapton. He was a good little finger picker, and so we're doing a few Clapton numbers. And I was just like edging. I started at the front and edged my way back with the age of the blues that I was listening to, you know. So, but that's where it started, and then we got into a bit more of it, doing some Bo Diddley and stuff when I was in Scotland. And then when I came back home and started working with this piano player, I showed us a bit more. It's just when I meet different people and they go, "You heard this?" And then all of a sudden I'm singing something else. I didn't have to even discover it. It was just like laid on a plate for quite a long time until I got here.
And then you got here, you discovered this fun town, good music scene. How did you kind of get into all that yourself? How did you start performing?
It's really funny. When I got here, I was like... the Jenny Lind, I told him, the manager at the time, God rest him, no, Casey, rest his soul. It's like, this is my Wembley. I need to be on that stage because I just loved the bands in there on a Sunday. They chose the best bands. And I couldn't believe it when I got to play on it. And he loved it. And I just loved it. I was desperate, but I didn't get to play down here. It was the Cajun Dogs and Bob Tippler who would give us my first shot here.
Okay, so you were singing with them?
No, I just got up and done some songs with them, and then people heard, you know. But it was Remy Vibesman. He's a little DJ, sometimes promoter around here, who put my first gig on, and Jenny, who's in the audience, was there. And when the piano player that was and made us move down here, I couldn't believe it. I'd never seen 30-year-old rockabillys in North Northumberland ever. Couldn't believe it. So, oh my God, I need to live here. That was the only thing that swayed us, really. I keep telling people it was about the music scene in George Street, but it wasn't. It was because of the scene that was in the Electric Stag that night. It was great. I was so I did, and I went home. Well,
Cajun Dogs were the first band we saw in Hastings.
Oh, they were great, weren't they? Bring back the Cajun Dogs. I went up to London with them, and I was like little Annie, like driving there in the van, going over the bridges. It was great. Yeah.
So when did you get together? When did you start working with your current band, with Matt and the guys?
It's a big, massive story, because I had a band before them called the Boogie Doctors, in which I went to a boogie woogie festival at what they call it, Buellwater. I went camping on my own, and I didn't have any gear. You can imagine, Jenny. Jenny has to bring everything everywhere for us. I don't know. I had a terrible tent, and this
Buellwater is Buell Water up the road for anyone who doesn't speak Geordie who's watching on the internet.
I went there on my own, and there was this lovely little Japanese lady over the way, and our friends said, "Oh, do you want some tea?" And la la la. We ended up having a great weekend together, and they were all a band. They were a rhythm section, and then Sister Suzie and the Boogie Doctors arrived, and Sister Suzie, because I live 400 miles from my sister, by the way, not because I think I'm like authentic. and we got offered a couple of gigs, and I didn't think that. They were from Maidstone. It was troublesome, so we had to finish it. And then I nearly got ripped off by this American fella. Oh, I shouldn't say this online, but I had a little bit of trouble anyway. And a local guy, Mick Wigfall, he's not always been local, but he is now, said to me, "Oh, so yeah," it's like that. "Oh, so yeah, I'll help you make an EP," and. So when I was working with this American dude. He's a famous blues guy from Arkansas, and he's like, "I'll make you a star," and he was gonna have us paying for my own album, and it was a little bit dodgy anyway. So I walked away. In the meantime, I had done 40 minutes with this drummer one time in the blues kitchen in Camden, and I was talking to Mick, and he went, "Oh, you know Brian?" I said, "Well, I don't really know him, but I've done a gig with him once." He says, "Well, if you tell this guy Matt Jackson sitting in the audience, if you tell Matt Jackson that Brian's gonna do it, and then you tell Brian that Matt's gonna do it, they'll both do it." Just so I told lies to both of them, like, "Hey, come down, help us make an EP. We'll just do it on the day. We'll sort it out as we go. Let's do it." And yeah, he's in. Like, "Oh, I haven't seen him for years. I'll come." It was all a lie. But anyway,
so basically
it worked.
She conned you into working with the Matt. That was pretty much it. Yeah.
It worked. Aye. And we didn't know what we were going to do, did we? I was like, "Can you play this and see?" Like, they just did it. Aye, as it went along. Even though it took about 14 goes for the start, sloppy drunk, everything else went swimmingly. And this is it. I had a reprint last year, and it's great. It's great.
Where was your first gig as a band together?
Well, that weekend, that day we recorded that, and I said, I messaged them both afterwards, and I said, "Will you fly with us?" And they said, "Yeah." So, and it was really funny because of the American fellow as well. I was working with this French person. Do you know the Camden Cat? Have you heard of him? He's mad, absolutely mad. He says to me, "You have some. I know this Geordie person. Will you do some vocals on an album?" So I went and done this audition in London to do vocals for a band. The girl had been picked up from Status Quo. She was going to do some back vocals for them. I was like, whatever, I'll do it. So I went and tried them out. I said, if I learn 6 of your songs and you learn 6 of mine, then at least we'll do a gig out of it. And I went there, and they hadn't learned any of my songs, but I'd learned all of theirs. But the bass player learned everything, inside out and upside down. So the guy got in touch with us the next day and said, "What did you think? Do you want to come and join us?" I said, "Nah, I'm not really into it. You didn't learn anything, but do you mind if I can steal your bass player?"
And did you steal their bass
player?
Oh,
yeah. So a couple of weeks later, the double bass player and Matt and I done a trio gig in Tottenham somewhere. That was our first gig. And then I had been doing these open sessions in the blues bar in Soho, in nothing but the blues. I'd done it a couple of times over the years.
And I used to go there all the time.
Oh, I loved it, man. I rocked up there one day, drunk as a skunk, and they're like, "Have you got a band?" And for years I'd been waiting to get the right band, and then all of a sudden I had Matt and I had Brian, and we went there, just the 4 of us, actually, and we had a bass player that was supposed to be meeting us there. And on the train on the way up, I got a message saying, "Sorry, can't come. Like, it's my first gig in London, like, apart from that little thing." I've got Phil Polecat. I don't know if anybody knows the Polecats, but I got the bass player at the Polecats. He's like full on, like psychobilly band, and he arrives like a French onion seller with his slick back hair. And I am not joking you. Someone gave us a £5,000 tip that day. I'm not kidding you. Just we didn't know what we were doing when you have to pay from 8:30 till 9:30. 10 till 11, then 11:30 till quarter. That's a lie. 9:30 till 10:30, 11 till 12, then 12:30 till 1:45 in the morning for 60 quid each. I'm not kidding you. There's not a fire door to be seen, and it is rammed, and it's the best place you can gig. It's that you can pay that because it's the best gig in the world. The people are just like, it's like the Jenny when it's rammed. But everyone's like out of town as they're all like walk past this bar and the music's pumping out of it, but they're from Spain or something, and they just go crazy in there, don't they? But then we got a residency after that, like, so we were there every month. It was great.
Cool.
That was the start of the right band.
And you've got your CD now, and you're getting it going. So what's the? I think, well, actually, do you know what? I think we'll stop there for now. You're gonna get you guys to do a couple of songs.
Sounds good.
Come back and chat about what you're doing now, what your plans are for the future, if on the assumption that all this weird shit ends at some point.
And what's been happening in the weird shit?
And then what's been happening in the weird shit, and we'll talk about frocks.
All right, frocks.
Frocks. So I'm gonna get off the stage. Matt's gonna come and the guy's gonna play a couple of tunes for us. Oh.
Are you going to go on there?
Yeah.
So, that sexual liberation thing. I know. This little song's by Memphis Minnie. I visited her grave when I was in America last year. And if anyone wants to read my dissertation, by the way, I shall put it on my website after Craig's done the spelling corrections. I just... Thank you very much. Coming from Craig Sams, that is very special. So, yeah. This is Bumblebee. You can have a listen for the lyrics between this song and the next song and see how they get passed over from one song to the next, to the next, to the next. Bumblebee, bumblebee, won't you please come home to me? Bumblebee, bumblebee, won't you please come home to me? You got the best little stinger any bumblebee I ever seen. He stung me this morning, I've been looking for him all day long. He stung me this morning, been looking for him all day long. Though he had me to the place once, I had to see my bumblebee leave home. No, I can't stand to see him buzz, buzz, buzz. Come in, bumblebee, I want you to stop your fuss. He's my bumblebee, and he knows his stuff. Ah, sting me, bumblebee, till I can't get enough. I said, stinger as long as my right arm. I said, stinger as long as my right arm. No, he had me to the place once, I had to let my bumblebee leave home. I said, stinger as long as my right arm. I said, stinger as long as my right arm. They had me to the place once, I had to let my bumblebee leave home. Sometimes he makes me happy, and sometimes he makes me cry. Sometimes he makes me happy, and sometimes he makes me cry. No, if I don't see my bumblebee, I wish to God that I could die. Okay. So I talked about how me and Matt write together, but we didn't actually write this one together. I played with this piano player when we made our album, Big John Carter, and I said, just play Rollin' Pete. See, I'll join you. So this is how it goes. It's called... it's the title of my album too. It's called Ain't No Lady.
Get out my pad.
Go on, get out.
I like playing the piano part.
And yeah, Matt's playing the piano.
This is quite hard, but here we go.
Instructions. You can put your hot dog in my roll. You can put your sugar in my bowl. You can put me through all that hell. You can push my button and ring my bell. You can sit me down upon your knee, 'cause tonight I'm gonna be no old lady. Shake your shimmy for me, don't you know? You can turn all the lights down low. You can kiss me where the sun don't shine. You can shake your shimmy and I'll shake mine. You can sit me down upon your knee, 'cause tonight I'm gonna be no old lady. Sax part. Like my right arm. Come, Bumblebee, come and give me a sting. I've been waiting for far too long. Well, I write there. Well, I wrote there. Why I read there. Well, I read there. Well, I write there. Why I read there. I say yeah, yeah. 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 I ain't no lady. I ain't no lady. I ain't no lady. I ain't no lady. Come on and sit me down upon your knee, 'cause tonight I'm gonna be no lady. Given half a chance. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Matt.